I'm sure a lot of you have heard about drivers studying and preparing for upcoming races, but what does that actually mean? Well, today I'm going to show you. So the first thing we do is watch the last race at that track. Usually we race at a lot of tracks twice a year. Texas we only go to once a year, so I'm watching this one and the fall race from the previous year as well. This is helping me get an idea of which cars were fast and might be fast again, what they were doing maybe with their driving style or even their team on strategy to put themselves in position. Now I'm looking at onboard footage, and this is super useful because being able to listen to the throttle input and where a driver lifts and brakes is a very useful tool for a driver trying to prepare for an upcoming race, especially if it's a car that was competitive and ran up front. In this case, it's last year's winner. So this is SMT Data, which is one of the most useful tools for drivers and teams. You can actually see the speed trace of every car on the track. Now, in the Xfinity series, the throttle and the brake trace is calculated off that, so it's not 100% accurate. You need to take that with a grain of salt. But because the speed trace is calculated using GPS, you can rely on that to see where cars are faster and slower and learn a lot from that. However, in the NASCAR Cup Series, they actually have input sensors on everything, throttle, brake, and steering. So along with the speed trace, you can actually look at driver inputs with 100% certainty, knowing what they're doing in the car, which as a driver is extremely valuable because you can learn a lot from other guys and what they're doing. And it's also really frustrating because if you're doing something that you think's giving you an advantage or making you fast in a race, everyone else can go back and look at what you were doing too. So the biggest thing is kind of getting an idea for where the guys are running on track. Here we can see they're running a little bit above the bottom. Sometimes the track maps could be a little bit skewed, so you got to be mindful of that. That's where watching the actual race broadcast can help you line up each lap number and see what they were actually doing. But yeah, the speed trace is 100% accurate, so that's what you're going to want to look at. You see, obviously, he's a little bit faster here. You can break this up into sections as well, like just turns 1 and 2 or just the entry. Same with 3 and 4. He's in a little bit deeper here. It looks like the 20 car's rolling a little bit more momentum through the center and getting the car turned down lower on exit than the 7 is, and that's where he's gaining speed. You can see he was just in the gas earlier, and that is calculated, but that probably gives you a rough idea of how the driver was giving that input inside the race car. All right, we're going green here. This is a restart in the race. This is really awesome to be able to listen to the driver up through the gears, heading down into turns 1 and 2, what they do in traffic here. So obviously this car's in dirty air. He's got a car to his inside. It's going to be hard to get the momentum off at turn 2 and get back to the bottom because that seemed to be the preferred lane last year. He gets clear, goes to the bottom. They're too wide in front of him. To actually wreck right there, that was not planned, but seeing how he avoided that, there's just so many nuances you could pick up on from an onboard camera and from the SMT data more than just the race broadcast. As you can see, it's almost 140 degrees inside the race car. So for those of you who say race car drivers aren't athletes, let's see you strap in there in a full fireproof uniform for hours on end. Fun fact, because of that heat, I've actually weighed myself before and after a race, and the most weight that I've lost just from sweat is 12 pounds. One of the most useful things about watching the actual race coverage and broadcast back is watching cars pit. What strategy they were on, if they took 4 tires or 2 tires, how many spots gained or lost were on pit road. So this is a really valuable way to kind of figure out what strategy was best throughout the race, in addition to some of the driving techniques you could discover from the onboard footage or SMT data.